Hello survivors, this is Priam here with the first video of my advanced series, optimizing electricity consumption. So with my own base progressing to level 20 now and the whole state moving forwards, I've decided to split the videos into 3 separate series: beginner, advanced, and expert. At this point in time, the first 4 videos that I've uploaded are part of the beginner series, and they cover a wide range of topics that every new player should be aware of. I will continue to produce videos for the beginner series as they come up. I currently have at least 1 or 2 more videos slated for release soon. As for this video, optimizing electricity consumption, this is the first of many videos in the advanced series. This video is for players between Castle 19 and Castle 22, and as I mentioned previously, from Castle 19 onwards you should be a raider. As you progress through this game, you need to optimize your gameplay by maximizing the result with the minimal amount of effort, time, and money. Once you've reached economies of scale, everything else is clockwork. And lastly, as for the expert series, that will be for Castle 25 onwards. So just a brief recap on electricity. It's required to keep your buildings online, and they must be connected by a road to supply electricity, and they must be online to be upgraded. However, not all buildings need to be online to function. You can disconnect some buildings to reduce your electricity consumption, thereby saving your fuel costs. In this game, there are 3 ways to produce electricity. The first is the windmill, which is passive production. Second is the power plants, which is active production because it requires you to supply fuel. And lastly, if you purchase the arm supply, then you'll have access to the solar panel, which produces electricity passively. Also, one note before we move on: if you look at the power plant and you go to details, more information, you'll see the electricity production, fuel capacity, and consumption per hour. Something you'll notice as you go down this list for the consumption per hour, around right here it drops. You'll notice it goes from 15,000 down to 12,000 and starts going up again. But if you put all of this into Excel and you calculate out the formulas, you'll see that the optimal range for your power plant is around here at 2.5 per fuel. I mean, it is high up here at 6 at the beginning, but you can't do anything with that. So 15 is a good level to stay at. Otherwise, going up from there, you're going to get up to level 22, which produces 1.76. So it's up to you where you want to leave your power plant at. So in this game, there are 2 main types of buildings: passive and active. Passive production buildings need to be online at all times. These include your resource production building, so the water, lumber, food, iron, and fuel, and their respective storages as well. My storages I've put in the top right hand corner of my base. The windmill, as I mentioned earlier, that's passive. Solar panels passive as well. Construction center is the other building if you purchase the arm supply. And the last thing is your houses. Your houses maintain your population. If you have your ration truck fully filled, then you will have a full population. However, I have left my ration truck out and I haven't refilled it. This will leave you with a population of 70% of the maximum. So if you take this number right here, the 131,950, this number will go down, but it doesn't actually do that. It will stay at that number. So 131,950 divided by the 188.5, that number will be 70%. So your population will stay at 70% if you don't fill up your ration truck. However, when you upgrade your houses to, say, level 21 from 20, and your population cap increases, in order to raise to the new 70% level, you'll have to fill up your ration truck so that the population grows to that point, and then you can stop filling it up again. Then you have your active production buildings. These can be turned on and off depending on what your needs are. However, for convenience, I keep these closer to the middle of the base and I leave them plugged in all the time because I will constantly refill them and I need to access them. So these are the power plants, as I mentioned earlier, that's actively producing electricity based on the fuel consumption. Then you have your energy refining plants, chip plants, the ration truck, as I mentioned earlier. You have your training buildings, so fighter, shooter, vehicle, and command center. And lastly, you have the hospital. Hospitals will all function without being plugged in, but you only need one of them to access it. So you should have one of them plugged in so that you can always access that one to heal. My other hospitals are all here in this corner here. In addition to these buildings, I also have the parts factory and the military academy because I access these buildings more often than the others, so I just leave them plugged in. Everything else can be turned off until you need them again. So either you need to upgrade them or you need to access them if you can't access them through another icon in the game. So without making this video really long, I'm just going to briefly go over all the buildings that can be turned off until you need them again. Banks can be turned off. They will produce money when they're offline. The watchtower will still function. School of Architecture is probably one of the most useless buildings unless you like to build trees and fountains. Management station. Your stationed heroes will still work, and you can access that through your hero menu as well by going to the hero and station. This is the exact same menu as if you were going through the management station itself. Embassy still works. Headquarters still works. The institute will still research. You can also click the technology icon here to access it there. Then you have your heroes hall, which you can access directly through the hero menu there. Cloning lab and commercial hub. Commercial hub you can plug in when the helicopter comes and then unplug it when it leaves. Construction vehicles, those can be all unplugged. They don't need to be plugged in to use your construction vehicles. You can simply click on the construction vehicle icon up here in the top left and you'll access them. I haven't unlocked the VIP shop yet, but once you do, that one you can unplug and plug in depending on when you use it. The bunks, obviously you need to plug them in when you upgrade them, but otherwise they do add the troop capacity to your training facilities. War rooms don't need to be plugged in. The might and resistance buffs will still apply with them offline. Same with the garrison hall and the trap house. Your garrison for your defense troops, that one, the lineup of defense troops will still function defensively. The only time you need to plug this one back in is when you want to repair your base if it's on fire. Radar and military intel both will function with them offline. And lastly, your barracks. These can all function offline because you have access to them anyways when you click on this. And you can see all your APCs. The last set of buildings that you can also turn off are your missile buildings. The anti-missile will still fire with it offline. These ones you'll plug in when you want to upgrade them or to build more missiles. With that being said, now that I've covered all the buildings that you can turn off and the ones that must stay on, I'll show you how much electricity consumption I save. So with everything turned on right now, clicking on electricity, you'll see that I consume a total of 232,000 per hour. But once I disconnect the road from these buildings, everything will go offline and the annoying icon will show up. So if I move this here like so, all of these buildings are now offline. Hospitals disconnect as well, and the missiles. So with the missiles offline, all of these miscellaneous buildings are offline, hospitals are offline. The only thing online are the active production buildings and the buildings I keep here for convenience, which I can also turn off right now just to show that. I can turn these two off here because I don't always train shooters and fighters, but I also leave the storages online as I mentioned earlier. So with all that in mind, my consumption is now 105,400. So that's a little over half saved. And the reason why you want to do this is, one, it's passive income. If you think about it, you save fuel passively. But the other reason is also to build up electricity faster, because electricity is used to upgrade your energy refining plants. So for example, this one needs 5.6 million electricity. And I'll cover this in a later video, but these energy refining plants come into play later for APC parts. So that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.